Good evening. You are listening to Sherrill M. Garth, and I'm coming to you with a little news. Yes, we must begin to assemble ourselves to talk about Charlottesville and what is in store for us as a people. I do want to say that people are assembling all types of movements together to see what leaders are going to do. And I have been of the mindset when someone says, don't stand there, do something. I've been of the mindset to stand there and don't do anything. Now, is this indictment an indictment against minorities and African Americans? I have a hard time deciding on that, because I do not see African Americans on the front line fighting, instigating the war, nor retrieving from the war. I know a lot of the speakers want us to believe that this hideous behavior that is happening out there is all wanted against the African American and minority. I like to say that we do have our issues, and there are quite a few issues that we must be addressing, but standing out there against the neonatal white supremacists right now is not one of them. We have bigger fish to fry than that. We are still trying to get someone to listen to us about our reparation. Let's get it clear. Don't get it twisted. We have fought many wars for many of social justice groups, for the women's movement and for the Jewish women, and many more. Even we got out there with the Confederate War and put on uniforms, and we also marched in the World War and the Civil War. Now, we are now being asked to assemble ourselves as leaders and to get out there and do something. Well, let me ask the question. We still have black codes on the books that are affecting African Americans as I stand here, that were initiated during the time of slavery, that have not been addressed. We still have peony of slaves that are just recognizing that they're in slavery and are just coming out in the 21st century. We have issues of our own. Don't let anyone tell you that this is going to benefit you. We have people that is not just acting in a social behavior. This is a behavior that we're looking at. And I do believe they're talking about taking their country back and not being subject to a lower level with the Jews taking their spot. I don't recall them saying that the African Americans are taking anything from them, because we don't have that authority. We don't have that power. Don't you remember the definition of power? Power is the ability to define a thing and to make others accept it as their own. We have not made anyone accept our statements and status of anything, and nor have we enforced it on anyone. But yet we are being asked once again to align ourselves with these leaders that are going out to arm themselves. I say stay put, stay still. Because marching has never been the way for us, and it was proven through Dr. Martin Luther King. We didn't get very much accomplished from marching, if you don't remember. So what we have to do is be more strategically. Now, since this is a time when everybody is going to get something, the education system is being represented. They're asking for various different laws not to be put in place so they can keep Title I and they can keep their benefits and voucher program. They're asking, it must be Christmas time, because this is a time when everybody's putting something on the line. Now, African Americans, hear me good. This is not your fight. You have many other fights, but this is not one of them. And if you are going to step out on anything, step out on reparation for centuries of years that we were held back and land was taken. Now they're talking about people who are the real Americans. I say we're non-immigrant. When Christopher Columbus came here, he found us here. So we're non-immigrants. Now for the immigrants that are up and down yelling, saying that they're undocumented, you know what the president said about undocumented. Now you're going to have to give the man credit for something. We got to clean this country up. But we also have got to understand that African Americans are documented immigrant, but we're non-immigrant. We were indigenous to this land. Now let's get it right. We have some issues that need to be cleared up. Now, if these young men that are out there with their swastikas are fighting, they're fighting against their own people, trying to get control of their country, they say. Now, that has nothing to do with African Americans. The hate groups have been there for a long time. Even when we asked for reparation, they were there then. There were no lines of people lining up to fight for us to get our reparation, and there still isn't. Now, you would be out of your mind, African American, if you run right out there in the front of a bullet when that bullet doesn't have your name on it. Now, we're not going to start a race war, and nobody will manufacture enemies for the African American. We will define ourselves and define our own enemies. We have these luxurious meetings, bring on all these elegant speakers to talk about the problems that they're running into with white supremacists. Hell, we've been running into problems with white supremacists all our lives, and we're still here, and we're still dealing with it. Except when the rooster comes home to crow in the backyard of some non-Melanite person. Now we are supposed to rise up and fight? I say stay put, stand still, don't do something. This is not your war. And don't let anyone say that this is a strike against the minorities. Yes, Trump has talked about the immigrant problem and what he plans to do. And there is a problem, and something has to be done about it. Get involved and roll your sleeves up and show him the best method to take. But don't take the idea that you could be non-documented immigrants and think that it's okay. You have to follow some guidelines. Now, if we were runaway slaves and somebody was looking to capture us and put us back, you would be the first to give us up because we would be violating the law. Now, let's get to the right wing of this. We got a lot of politics going on. Blacks have never benefited from politics. And if you didn't know it or not, Dr. Martin Luther King was a Republican. And his parents were Republicans. And his grandparents were right-wingers. He was not a Democrat. So let's not keep using Dr. Martin Luther King as our only example. He was one of the examples, but not the only example. I want to also make it plain that if this is Christmas time and people are putting their lists in,